Uh, Deputy Clerk, could you please lead us in a roll call?
Sure. Atkins,
Here.
Gage Watts, Epperson, Young, Chavez.
Here.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can we get some, I'm sorry, this is Crystal. Can we get some confirmation that we are live on Facebook? I'm not seeing that on the Facebook page.
We are live. I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
It's live on custom live streaming service. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It just popped up on Facebook. There's a delay that happens.
Okay. So we have a full quorum and we are live on Facebook. So let's continue with our agenda. Commissioner Epperson, would you please lead us in an invocation?
We'll go with our Father prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou art the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. And Commissioner Young, could you please lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any agenda additions?
I have none.
Okay. Any public comments?
I have none.
Okay. All right, well, let's get on to the core of our agenda. Then we have 4 primary agenda items just to get everybody oriented. The first is to discuss providing economic incentives to a potential employer in the area. The second is to discuss an ITEP application by Frymaster. The third is to discuss funding for Southern University programs of nursing, aerospace, and MS-KIC. And the fourth is to discuss adding the requirement that all funding requests coming to the Economic Development Committee be accompanied by an economic impact assessment. So with that agenda in mind, let's start with at the top with discussing providing economic incentives to a potential employer. We have Scott Martinez here with NLEP, who has been facilitating discussions for over a year on Project Grace. Scott, I'll turn the agenda over to you for a moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. We've been working with a customer contact center, a call center, since last year from a consultant contact that we have based in Chicago. And we reached a point where initially there were 4 communities in contention for this project. Now it's basically down to 2, and had a discussion with a consultant and the company, and pretty much they laid out to me what it would take to win this project and get an announcement in the next few weeks. And we filled every gap except $300,000 in cash. And the letter that we sent over kind of gives an outlay of how we would recommend doing an incentive, a cash incentive. Of course, they would have 150 people year one. And the way we broke it down to get to that $300,000 request was to do $750 per employee as the employees came online. So when they added that first 150, would recommend a cash disbursement of $112,500. Year 3, as they added employees, it would be another $75,000. And then in 2025, when they hit their 400 employee number, that would be an additional $112,500. We are competing with one community in Texas, and I've been assured if we can procure this incentive, we can do an announcement on this project and have these folks operational at the end of July. They're looking at a facility that was used prior as a call center by CenturyLink that's on Burke Coons Boulevard. It's needs some work on it. We've been able to procure incentive commitments from the Louisiana Economic Development Office and the Texas Workforce Commission. So several people are putting money into this project, so it wouldn't be a singular initiative of Caddo Parish.
Okay, so thank you, Scott. So to summarize the situation, the cost to the parish, as I understand it, would be roughly 300,000 over a 5-year period. The benefits, based on your economic assessment, would be about 850,000 over a 10-year period, with the net benefits to the parish particularly being about 540,000. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Atkins.
And that would be roughly 400 direct jobs with an additional 90 plus in spinoffs, with an average salary of about $23,500.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And they would be investing $2 million in the building and furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Correct. And there would be no tax exemption or anything like that involved on the real and personal property.
Okay. So the situation here, colleagues, is that Scott and I have also approached the Industrial Development Board to consider funding this activity. And the president of the Industrial Development Board was surveying his membership when we last spoke. And if someone would consider making a motion to this effect, I would suggest that we make a motion that if this item is not funded by the Industrial Development Board, that we then have the permission to forward it to the full body for consideration. Would anyone be interested in making a motion to that effect?
Chairman?
I'll move that motion.
Chairman, you there?
Yes, I am.
If my thought process was, could we create a motion to show a unanimous show of support to urge the IDB to support this, and then see where it goes, and then come back if they don't?
That is an option. Scott, what's the time sensitivity on this project?
There's time is of the essence because they want to be operational in July.
So, yes, yes,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir, Mr. Epperson.
well, I'd like to be next on the board when that opportunity arises.
You have the opportunity currently.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we would propose the 300,000 funding. If I can get a second, I'd like to speak on it.
Second.
Okay, thank you. It appears Mr. Martinez stated that this company would like to be starting around July of this year. And I would think that this would be a worthwhile initial proposal that we can get with the IDB board at a later date. However, I think that we should go ahead and recommend funding from the commission, whereas because time is an essence, and I understand that we have another organization, I think, in Texas that may be contemplating this. So I would recommend us going forward with 300,000 initially.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Burrell.
just want a clarification since some of us are new to this project. Is this a call center or something?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I don't have
Commissioner,
yes,
Commissioner, this is the parish attorney. I have a question for Mr. Martinez. Is there are we looking at having clawbacks in case these jobs are not held for a certain period of time? Like, I
yes.
understand that you wanted to roll them out, or are you suggesting that you roll out the cash incentive as they come on board? But are we looking at adding a provision that they've got to maintain the jobs for a certain amount of time, or repay the incentive?
Yes, ma'am. I would recommend that there's a clawback provision in the cooperative endeavor agreement or contract or whatever is formulated that would be based on the percentage of noncompliance. If the company's not compliant, they have to give back a pro rata piece of the incentive that they get from the parish or the IDB. And the Louisiana Economic Development Office is going to structure a similar agreement for their participation. And it would most likely be advantageous just to mirror what they're doing for consistency.
Thank you.
And it would have those clawbacks in it, Attorney Frazier.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have Haley or Dr. Wilson on the line?
I'm here.
Okay. Hello, Haley. Haley,
Hello.
if we were to vote to fund this, of course, we would just be voting to fund it to forward it to the full body. But if the full body were to vote to fund it, where would those funds come from?
It would have to come from the economic development or perhaps the oil and gas.
Okay. All right. And it would be spread out over
several years.
A 5-year period, I think
5
it is.
years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Okay.
Hey, Commissioner
All right.
Atkins.
Yes, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. It's always been our practice for anything that would tip the scale in our favor economically, we would use oil and gas money, and that's what was primarily geared towards.
Okay.
And you have sufficient fund, and I would encourage you all to move forward while we also pursue the discussion with the IDB board. And if the IDB board can't act, then we can pull back on our initiative, but at least this send a message to the prospective company that we are willing to go forward regardless of where the sources come from.
Okay. Well, it sounds like Dr. Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just letting you know I raised my hand, but I don't think you see it.
No, I'm sorry. I don't, Stormy.
That's okay.
I'm not sure where to look for you, but do you have a question or go ahead?
Yes, I was going to ask Attorney Frazier, do I need to do a friendly amendment to that motion in order to add that wording to the motion for the clawback?
Commissioner, I think right now will be good if you all bring it to the body. We could talk about that and formulated it at that point if the body ends up needing to vote on it.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Attorney Frazier. And then the other part was just stating that I do agree that this is definitely an investment that we need to make for Caddo Parish. Economic development could not be even more important during this time. So if someone is looking to bring business here within the next few months, we definitely need to be on the front end of making this investment. So I fully support this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. So it sounds like
I also have a question.
Go ahead, John Paul.
If it's an okay time to ask a question about this.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry. So are there provisions in the contract or plans for what their business model will look like in case the health circumstances are not favorable to opening in July? Are they considering having remote workers do telecommuting, teleconference or whatever, like a telecommunications calls? And are those people going to be like living in our parish? If so, are we going to consider like any new business models that they might be forced to create for themselves with this funding? And that's really a question for Scott, I think. But he may not know the answer also.
Mr. Young, I don't have an answer for that. The only model they've looked at this point is a physical location on Burkins Avenue. They haven't, to my knowledge, contemplated remote workers.
But I would, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I would think that given that their incentives are tied to bringing employees to Caddo Parish, and they're only paid the incentive when employees take up employment in Caddo Parish, if they were to have remote workers working from outside of the parish, then they would not receive the incentive.
Right.
That would be my understanding of how I would put that. I'd memorialize that in the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Burrell.
Just a cursory question. We do have a full impact, economic impact study on this company, also.
Yeah, we have it in front of us, the committee
Okay.
members do. And I've had it for a week, and I think our committee members have had it at least since last week.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. It sounds like Dr. Wilson and most of our colleagues are supportive of Commissioner Epperson's motion to approve for the Economic Development Committee to approve passing this funding request, recommending this funding request to the full body. So with that being said, I will ask us to have a roll call vote on Commissioner Epperson's motion. Commissioner Clerk, could you please remind us of Commissioner Epperson's motion?
Sure. It's to recommend to the full body the full $300,000 funding for Project Grace.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
how do we conduct a vote now? You call the roll?
Yes, sir. Atkins,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Young.
Yeah.
That passed unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Chairman,
Yes.
before we let Scott go, I just wanted to thank him for doing this, for doing the work at Caddo Parish, and congratulate him for being appointed to the governor's legislative task force to reopen the economy.
Thank you. Good point. Thank you, Scott. Congratulations, Scott. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, on the governors and the legislature, so doing dual roles.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Well,
Mr.
while
Burrell.
we're speaking here, I would just like to ask Michelle if she would send me a copy electronically of that economic impact study.
It was sent this morning, sir, but I
Okay.
can resend it to you.
All right, I'm just now getting back in here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey, Commissioner Atkins,
Yes, sir, Dr. Wilson.
sorry, we certainly would like to complete the process with the discussion with the IDB board.
Yes, for certainly.
Yeah,
Just so everybody's clear, we will continue to work with the Industrial Development Board to present them with this opportunity for funding. I know they are looking to utilize some of their funds in a productive way.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully we can get them on board. If
Yes, sir.
not, we'll fall back on the commission.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to item number 2, discussing Frymaster's ITEP application. Many of you all know Frymaster. They manufacture and assemble commercial cooking equipment. They've been a part of our community for many years. They were bought out by a private equity group, they were bought out by a larger company called Well Built,
Right.
and consequently they're now a division of Well Built.
Mhm.
And Well Built, as is common in industry, Well Built requires them to compete for capital. So when they have additional growth opportunities, they must prove that they'll get they've got to calculate the return on their investment, and that return has to compete successfully with other corporate initiatives for them to get capital. So they are envisioning an upgrade of their equipment
Mhm.
and a reinvestment that will allow them to maintain their workers here in our community.
Mhm.
Dr. Wilson, do you have that data? Here, I've got some of it here. They're
Yes.
looking at it. Go
Yes,
ahead,
sir.
Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Frymaster submitted an application in October of last year. And we did an ask for an extension, but of course, things that the COVID-19 came an issue. But this is for them to install additional equipment. And typically you have to have a compelling reason to do so. And they did present a compelling reason statement along with their application. They're going to invest about $6 million and to retain 346 employees. So we in favor of this. Certainly, it's an 80-20 proposition where they asking for 80% exemption for 5 years, and we will start collecting 20% of the taxes immediately once this goes into play. So the administration is definitely in favor of this one, and encouraging you all to your favorable consideration in improving this ITAP for Frymaster, otherwise known as Well Built.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. So again, to reiterate, they have 346 employees here locally. They've got to, they want to continue to reinvest. The local leadership team is very supportive of our community. They want to reinvest in their plant to ensure that they are continuing to be competitive and can continue to grow in our area. Their existing payroll here in our community is $19.5 million. And again, they're asking for an 80/20 ITEP exemption. Any questions about Frymaster or Well-Built or their requests? Yes, LBJ.
I think Mario had his hand up first. I'll come after him.
I just wanted to make the motion, but I'll yield if you had a question, LBJ.
Yeah, my question was, are there any new jobs created from this expansion?
This is sustainability, Commissioner Johnson. Workforce sustainability.
So with the amendment to the ITEP process, would this even qualify? Because
yes, sir,
no jobs created.
Yes, sir, it would, because unless there's a compelling reason to approve it, and they did present a compelling reason statement, you should have gotten a copy of it. It starts on page 2 of page 7 and goes to page 3. And so, yes, ITAP would, the state board would approve this application because of sustainability as well as creating new jobs.
Okay.
And the city council approved it last week, I believe.
Yes, sir, they did.
And I'm not sure if this document was distributed to the committee. I don't know that it got out to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I did see it on the agenda, but that's about it.
Okay. All right.
I guess I can get a copy of it now since the committee has it.
Well, it was on the agenda.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or discussion?
I had one. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
I was looking. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I saw a document where it was breaking down the 80/20, and from what I remember, the figure says 75,500 over 5 years, and then at the bottom it gave a figure that came out to be 68,000 or something. You may see that in front of you. If not, I'll just hold it until the meeting. I didn't quite understand that comparison.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Burrell. I see the estimated benefit breakout, but they don't quite put up with those numbers.
Right.
But I'd be happy to visit with you offline on it.
We can do that.
The annual exemption would be about 146,000.
Right.
You don't see a figure that says 75,500. And then at the bottom it has never mind. I'll pull the information because that's where I got it from. I just didn't print out the agenda.
I just don't. I'm sorry that I don't see a 75,000.
It is right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we good.
All right.
I think those numbers may have come from Scott Martinez's letter of support about this.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at right now. That's what he's talking about.
See,
the project that impact.
And you can
From
pull that up, Peter.
NLEP.
Right.
Go ahead, Stormy.
Yes, sir. He is referencing the actual breakdown from NLEP.
Oh, there it
from
is.
Frymasters. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the reference that he is making.
Okay. Yeah. And I was comparing that 75,500 I think over 5 years, and the total that was 68,000 something total. Like I said, I don't have it in front of me.
Mr. Burrell, Commissioner Burrell, may I interrupt you, please? Because the numbers you're talking about are for Grace, the previous project.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just didn't want us to I didn't want to confuse us, but
okay,
that's
good.
the previous project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can make that motion if you're ready.
Please do.
I'd like to move for the 80% ITEP to be moved to the full body for vote, if I can get a second.
Second.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Watson. Reason being is obviously with a $19.5 million.
You're breaking up. Breaking up.
Well, you were breaking up there, Mario, but
Breaking up. I think everybody needs to mute.
Yeah, I'll hold my explanation, but that's my motion.
okay. I think we all heard Mario's motion. Any comments on Mario's motion before we go to a roll call vote? Madam Clerk, would you
I think Commissioner Johnson is trying to.
I don't see Commissioner Johnson. Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
I was going to ask the question, is the 80-20 the highest percentage we can go, or that's the max now?
That's the max now. Isn't that right, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. That's to ensure that municipalities will start getting something and not zero.
And that's only for 5 years, and then at the end of 5 years, they have to come back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was the max, 80-20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Commissioner Epperson.
would you all identify the acronym ITEP for maybe some new people?
Industrial Tax Exemption Program.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we ask for a review of the motion and a vote?
I just want to reiterate my same sentiments from the first one we just passed. I do believe that we need to continue to do everything we can to keep everyone employed during this pandemic and for a very long time, for the stress that is causing upon our budgets right now, as well as being able to supply, hopefully, an investment in this current organization that will last for years to come. So I'm sure that everyone will support this motion, and I just want to encourage you, if you're not going to support it, to please support this motion.
Okay, thank you, Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts, I should say. All right, let's see. Madam Clerk, could you review that motion for us one more time before we vote?
Sure. To recommend to the full body an 80% ITEP for FryMaster. 80% ITEP for FryMaster.
Okay, thank you very much. A roll call vote, please.
Atkins,
Aye.
Chavez,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
That passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving on to our third agenda item, discuss funding for Southern University programs for nursing, aerospace, and MS-KIC. I saw Darren and Miss Sneed. Are you guys still there?
Yes.
Who will be speaking on behalf of, who's representing Southern today?
Ms. Sneed.
Hi, John. I'll be representing Southern to speak with respect to nursing and aviation, and Darren will bring some comments regarding the MS-KIC program.
Okay. Well, let me thank you for coming, Ms. Sneed. Let me remind everybody that you all have a request for $250,000, and I will remind us that our total budget is $450,000. So this request represents 55% of our overall budget. So with that being said, I will turn the agenda over to you, Ms. Sneed.
Thank you. Thank you all for giving consideration to this proposal. As I always say, I would like to thank the Caddo Parish Commission for your continued support over the last several years to support new and innovative programs at Southern University. The first program that we are requesting support is a one-time request for our nursing program. As many of you know, we are about to open up a new facility, a new nursing building adjacent to our current building downtown at 610 Texas Street. At present, we have about 175 students enrolled across all of our nursing programs. Upon opening of the new facility, we will be able to enroll an additional 75 students into our program, and we anticipate those numbers will grow over time. Based on my research with the Louisiana Workforce Commission, with a 2-year degree in nursing, it's one of the highest paid career fields in the area with just a 2-year certificate. So we would appreciate funding that would help us to continue to maintain that program, grow that program. As you grow the numbers comes additional faculty, additional needs for the program. But the good thing about the nursing program, just like the LPN program that you helped us with, it will be able to sustain itself very easily after this first year. So we are requesting the amount of $150,000 to support a program expansion and enhancements to meet the growing workforce need in our community for the nursing program. Are there any comments or questions about that program before I move on to aviation?
I do have one, Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner
I know
Shaw.
last time. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Sneed, thanks for coming down. Last time, I think the representative said that it was going to be used for furniture, but that had been retrained. Do you have a breakdown of that 150,000 of what the actual usage is for?
Yes, sir. It's kind of combined at the end of the document that I provided to you, but I could break it down further to speak specifically to the nursing program. Primarily, what we do need is materials and equipment, but we could address other expenditures that's more appropriate for the parish if we're able to work out the relationship. Initially, I asked for $175,000. We were able to identify some additional funds from other resources, so I reduced that amount, and actually we found that we needed some more resources relative to MS KIC, and I elevated the MS KIC request. But we do need furnishing and materials and equipment, but there are other expenditures that you could help us with, which would allow us to take care of those items, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Mr. The agenda didn't have the link attached to it. Can you see if we can get those?
You're breaking up. I could send it to you.
Oh, okay, that'd be perfect. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
One second, Mr. Commissioner Burrell. I think the clerk sent us these documents this afternoon. Is that right, Ms. Nations?
That's correct. I sent it to all the commissioners, but I can resend it, and then I can, after this meeting, I'll go in and attach it to the agenda as well.
Okay, Commissioner Burrell.
Just as a side note, I just wanted to say I've been doing some researching on the nursing side, and I understand that's going to be an increased demand because of this virus, because this is not a one-time deal. That there's going to be an increased need for nursing at different levels. So I'm just throwing that out just as a point of information.
Yes, nursing is a what they call 4 or 5-star rated job. So it is high demand and it is high wage. And it is a program that we just need a little help with as we are trying to expand the program, but it will easily accommodate its own expenses after this one-time contribution.
Okay. All right. Are you trying to speak, Stormy Edgewat? You're muted. Hold on.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. I just wanted to ask a question if we were going to be voting on these individually or collectively.
I'd propose that we vote on that we hear all three and then vote on them individually.
Okay. Well, I'll save my comments till then. Thank you.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure if I noted earlier that the average wage that our students receive is $60K for the RN program and $45K for our LPN.
And with these, Ms. Sneed, with these students coming out of the nursing school, I mean, or do we have both RNs and LPNs?
Yes, sir. We have a comprehensive program that starts with a CNA. We have an LPN program. We have a fast track. If you are already an LPN, you can go through the program and become an RN. Then we have a two-year RN program. So we have the whole suite.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions on nursing before we go to aviation?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, John Paul.
Ms. Sneed, I'm thinking about this for all the activities that people are planning now. Are you making, or is this nursing school making any plans for how it would open and operate if the public health crisis is continuing and preventing gatherings and academic meetings, that kind of thing?
Yes, John Paul, we are making adjustments in how we're offering instruction. Everything is primarily online at this point, but we are gradually going back into hands-on training, especially with our allied health and nursing programs. There's a lot of virtual education that's taking place right now, but as the opportunity presents itself to migrate back into the hospitals and those learning environments, that will take place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions here? All right. If you could take us into the aviation piece, please, Ms. Sneed.
Yes, sir. The aviation program is a program that we are most proud of, the direction that it's migrating into. It was a program that we initially received large dollars of support from the parish in excess of, I believe, $250,000, $300,000 annually. We've trickled that down to a $50,000 request this year. Just to say, if you looked at the PowerPoint, you can see some of the numerous accomplishments that we've made with that program. We've had change in leadership, so we brought a new director in. We've hired new faculty, a program coordinator to help with the overall, help the director with the management of the programs. We've even established a testing center, which was a huge problem with our students having to actually leave the area, pay to relocate to another area to take the test, and then just the costs associated with the exam. So SUSLA is a testing facility for the written part, and we're working to be a testing center for the hands-on component as well. We were able to do those things because of the support from the parish and from other agencies across the state, such as LED Fast Start. We've generated great relationships with the military, with Barksdale Air Force Base, to give their individuals who are transitioning from the Air Force prior credit for their learning, meaning that they can complete the program in a more timely fashion and go to work. I could go on, but if you have that PowerPoint, there are numerous accomplishments that have taken place over the past 3 years that's making the program an awesome opportunity for this area. At this point, we are requesting the support of $50,000 for the Aviation Maintenance Technicians Program to continue to help with the expenses as we continue to grow this program.
Mr. Chairman, as a matter of question.
Go ahead, go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
I just want to address this to Ms. Sneed. Given the statement that you made about Barksdale, and it's almost like a feeder into your program, have they been approached for any funding?
Not as of yet. Not as of yet. That's something we can consider.
Thank you.
Not to my knowledge, but that's something we certainly can consider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Epperson.
Ms. Sneed, have
Yes,
you
sir.
all approached, I think it's Global Airlines that's converting the commercial airliners to, the passenger airliners to commercial airliners that now occupies the old hangar that ExpressJet had?
Yes,
in
sir.
relationship with them?
Yes, sir. Western Global is one of our primary partners in the community. When they first came and located here, they expressed interest in an aggressive partnership. We have internships where almost along the lines of an apprenticeship, where our students are able to work there and receive income and get training prior to graduating from the program. So we have a great relationship with Western Global. We plan on having the same with the most recent company that relocated here. Aero Ready. We are in talks with them to establish internships and work closely. We're already doing job fairs collectively together. So yes, sir. But to answer your question, we do have a relationship with Western Global.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chavez, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Sneed, this PowerPoint, is that accumulation of 177 graduates?
Yes, sir. I think it's I think it's from 2014 or 2015 to present.
That's pretty cool. Where are the majority of these students placed as? Are they working locally or have they moved?
I think we're in a position now where many of them will be placed locally. A lot of them, just to be honest, they were able to, because the need is so great in the aviation. If you look at the statistics in the report that I sent you, a lot of students are able to get jobs prior to completing, and they're able to leave us. So we're trying to get some of these certifications and allowing them to test in the local area. So with the relocation of those two companies here, I think we'll see more placements here, but sometimes they are relocating, just to be honest.
I know the state of Louisiana and LAD is making a big push for the aviation. Has anyone asked them about funding to help this out and bring this program larger due to the fact that Aero Ready is here?
Oh, yes, sir. They are very, they support us. They already support us significantly with the program.
When you say that, does that mean that they're going to support you guys to get it up to the needs of the 1,400 workers that Aero Ready needs, or what exactly?
You're breaking up. I didn't hear the complete sentence.
I was asking LED, what type of commitment they made to the aviation school?
I'd have to look at the numbers, but I think the most recent award was somewhere between 250 and 500,000, but I'd have to check my numbers and get back with you, Mr. Chavez.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sneed. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Sneed? Ms. Sneed, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the licensing completion rates that in 2014-15 was 7, in 2015 to 16 and 16 to 17 was 5, 2017 to 18 was 2, 2018 to 19 was 1. What's causing that negative trend, and how might it be addressed?
That goes back to some of the conversation that I mentioned earlier. We want to be very transparent about those numbers because students were able to get jobs without completing the program. One, that attributed to some of it, and because the need was so great, and then not being able to test here locally, that was problematic. Now that they're able to test here locally, and we're pushing for that, that's going to help. And then just the testing fees in itself, we have incorporated that cost into the fees when they enroll in the institution now. So that's already taken care of. When they graduate from the program, their testing fees will already be addressed so they can go ahead and take their exams here locally. So we're hoping that trend will turn around this year based on the new changes that we've made.
Okay. Well, the parish has put a lot of money into this program, and it's a good story. It's just that it just hadn't really developed like I would have liked it to. But I'm sure it's a challenging situation.
Yeah.
All right. Other questions for Ms. Sneed on aviation? Okay. Moving to
Mr. Atkins, if I could.
Yeah.
I would say because of your funding and what you've done with the program over the years, we saw the numbers expand greatly. And we saw our graduation numbers to a certain degree. It's just the licensure exams. That was a dynamic. So I wouldn't say that the funding and the program hasn't advanced. If you talk to LED Fast Start, they will tell you the difference between that program 5 years ago and where it is today, and the change in the curriculum, the actual looks of the facility internally, and the equipment that's in place, and the hands-on learning environment. It's a 90 degree.
Medically treated.
So what's the difference between graduating from the program and completing a license? I mean, do you have to complete a license to be employed in the industry?
Some industries will hire you prior to you taking your exam. You can complete the program and not have your license.
But ultimately, you've got to pass your license.
Yes, sir, you do.
Kind of like going to work for an accounting firm. They might hire you, but they expect you to pass your CPA.
Right. Yeah. And then you lose, some of them, if they leave the area, you lose track. And we may not be accounting for all the numbers there to a certain degree.
Okay. Any other questions before we move to MS Kick? Seeing none, can you take us through MS Kick, Ms. Sneed, or do you need a breather?
I'm good. Darren, are you available? I think he may be. He's not available at the moment. Well, most of you are familiar with the Milam Street Kitchen Incubator and Community Kitchen. The PowerPoint is attached to give you the full scope of what we do. It's a program that was established in the Choice neighborhood community to help culinary businesses to have a place that they can work and be able to provide food services from a facility that's appropriate for that. And also, in addition, it would allow us to hire individuals in the community and provide them with certified training to work with these culinary businesses. And then the last component is the health and wellness, where we work with the LSU Ag, the Southern Ag Center, and other entities to provide health and wellness education to the community at large. That's the big picture of the project. And we've just gotten approval over the past month in order to operate from the fire marshal and the public health office. So we were ready to walk into MS Kick and get going. But then COVID-19, of course, hit us and we had to slow down a little bit with respect to that. Most of the culinary businesses didn't have the resources to come into the facility, but now they're ready. They're starting to get interest and input, and really based on a new project that we're going to roll out. And I'll talk a little bit about that. It's called the Milam Street Kitchen Incubator Grab and Go Hot Meals, Hot and Healthy Meals program. We are on April the 27th that would allow community members, those that are coming that may be disabled or older individuals will have an opportunity for lunch and for dinner to get a hot, healthy meal. Now, doing that, it allows us to do a couple of things. It allows us to put our culinary, some of our culinary businesses back to work. In fact, we have 5 of our culinary businesses that was due to be a part of the MS Kick facility coming back now to prepare those meals. You know, you hear a lot about meals being provided and that's a good thing. But a lot of times those meals are sack lunches, they're cold meals. We are happy that these will be hot meals and they will be of a healthy nature, and they will be offered between 11:30 and 1 o'clock for lunch, and for I believe 5 and 6 for dinner. And those meals will be provided as long as the resources last. Again, we're putting culinary businesses back to work. We're also putting through some of our other partnerships with Hope Connection, as well as the Providence House, we identify 5 individuals at this point, and it may grow, that's not working, that will be assistance to these culinary, to these caterers that will assist. So this project right now, just at the beginning, is putting several individuals back to work and doing what the MS Kick facility was deemed to do. So we asked for additional monies in this project beyond what we did initially to help us to bring about the project that I just described, the Milam Street Kitchen Incubator Grab and Go Hot and Healthy Meals. So I told you a little bit about MS Kick, and I told you a little bit about the new initiative. If you got questions about either one, let me know.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Burrell.
This is a side question in which I'm very interested in, and I know John Paul is. Ms. Sneed, how would it help address the food desert issue in that area where people cannot get healthy foods and like vegetables and that type of thing? You all will be serving vegetables and things of that nature, I assume.
Oh, yes, sir. I mean, that's one of the primary components of MS Kick, period. But now that with COVID-19, all of us are hearing about individuals not have, a lot of our dynamics that we're hearing in some of our communities of people not being as healthy as they should because of diet. We're excited that we could bring that dynamic to the table, and we are working hand in hand with the food bank to provide some foods for our caterers to keep the costs down. We're working with Shreveport Green. They are looking to restart some of their operations and taking their van back around into the low income areas that are food deserts. So we'll be working hand in hand with everyone that we can in the community to address the food insecurities that we see.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Yes, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Chavez, did we lose you?
No, I'm right. I got a two-part question. Can you hear me, Chairman?
Yes.
For Mrs. Sneed, I knew a couple months ago you guys requested 25,000. What's the increase to 50,000? What's the difference?
The increase is due to COVID-19, the fact that we are working very closely with these caterers to get the food necessary to provide those free lunches and those free healthy dinners to the residents of Allendale, Ledbetter Heights, and the West Edge community, and other partners throughout the city that could utilize these food items.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And the second part question, this is for Haley Barnett. The funds will come from what bank? I believe it's going to be the Riverboat funds. And what's our current situation with COVID-19 and the riverboats closing down?
Well, actually, this is economic development. So this would have to either come from the Economic Development Fund and actually, depending on what y'all propose, there's not enough money in the Economic Development Fund right now to cover everything that they're requesting. So you guys would have to move money again from the Oil and Gas Fund to cover this. But this wouldn't come out of the riverboat. This is proposed out of economic development.
And economic development, Commissioner Chavez, is funded from video poker and primarily. Isn't that correct?
I can't hear him. Did he?
I couldn't hear him either. Try
Mr.
one more
Chavez.
time.
Let me see if I can do that. Okay. What Commissioner Atkins stated that the money comes from the video poker from the riverboats, correct?
Video poker is different from riverboat. Video poker is literally the video poker machines around town. It's not associated with the riverboat casinos. That money comes from the state. And we are, as I stated in the email I sent you guys a while back, that revenue is a couple of months behind. And so we haven't seen how badly that downturn will be at this point. But most of the places that have video poker, they're not able to operate right now. So we're expecting a big downturn on that as well. So if y'all fund anything for this, it's going to have to come from a different funding source, which would have to be oil and gas or, reserve trust. But remember,
Okay.
reserve trust.
Thank you for the explanation. And Ms. Sneed, I know you guys are doing good things in our community, and I thank you for coming. I just wanted to let the committee know what's at dire hand right now with our funding. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Any questions or observations?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Commissioner Chavez said.
I think Commissioner Chavez said something to the effect of he just wants us all to realize the dire financial situation of this committee due to the fact that the video poker revenue source is largely shut down because the institutions in which they operate have been largely closed. Give us a thumbs up if that's more or less correct, Mario.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the explanation. I think before we approve, before we review this item with the prior two items that we discussed, supporting a new project and an existing organization with investments in mind. And here we are making a lot of questions or having a lot of, concerned about making an investment in our future. And here we're talking about high wages, high paying jobs here. We're talking about investing in something that is going to be for the longevity of Caddo Parish, making an investment in our citizens, as well as a long-term partnership. We've had a great working relationship with Southern University Shreveport. I would love to see us collectively vote on these and not disenfranchise either one of the requests. I will get back on the board to make a motion, but I just wanted to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, because now we are kind of setting, our goals aside to say, well, we can't do this now when we're coming down to education. And this is the educational program that's advantageous for further growth for Caddo Parish. So I just want us to keep that in mind, commissioners, what we're supporting here. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Burrell.
I just wanted to add to this too, that given the fact that we are dealing with the COVID issue, and I understand that it gives us a scare in terms of our budget, reduced budget and revenue, but aren't we also looking at hopefully, with whether you call it stimulus or whether you call it disaster relief funds, that we're supposed to be getting in something that Commissioner Epperson just sent us recently, that we are looking at replenishing some of those funds.
I have not seen Commissioner Epperson's email if he sent us something today. Dr. Wilson, are you familiar?
Well, it was actually sent by the president of the parish commission, somebody named Guy somebody, the new president, but Ken just re-emphasized it through NACO. He addressed it from the standpoint of NACO, I believe.
Well, Dr. Wilson could probably help us understand what the funding situation may be.
Yeah. Right, and this,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr.
Go ahead, Erica. Go ahead.
This is Erica Brown. I was just going to say, the stimulus issue, Commissioner Epps can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the stimulus package did not cover local government. What we're trying to do through the Police Jury Association is get more funding for local government. Right now, we don't have anything that would tell us we would have revenue replacement in relation to the revenues that we are losing and will continue to lose. Right now, Haley spoke of the riverboat and video poker, but we expect our sales taxes to be down. We expect our property taxes to be down. So this will have a trickle down effect on our overall budget. If we, right now, we can get reimbursement for some equipment costs, maybe some payroll, but we don't have an avenue at this time to replace any revenues. So we would have to live with the amount of revenues that we lose in relation to this issue. So just looking at our budget as a whole, that's important when we think about the fact that you all may have to look coming forward as to how you're going to fund your current expenditures for your salaries and the other programs that your normal programs that you have to fund, not just NGOs. At some point, the administration would have to look at numbers when we get better information. Right now, it's just simply hard because we're so property tax dependent and we just don't have a lot of information on that right now. But when we do, we would have to sit down and determine what can and cannot, what we're looking at, and present you all a plan in order to account for the fact that we're going to have. It just needs to be clear that Caddo Parish, although you all have prepared for this day, given that we have maintained significant fund balances, and that's what's going to carry us through, but we will have some financial issues in relation to COVID-19. And even if we get some assistance through the police, through the federal government, and we hope that they're hearing us and hope that they're getting that message and would make some adjustments so that we could get some share of funding, given that we will lose some revenue.
Just as a clarification, I mean, I try to keep up with the national news too, and they are addressing local governments, local governments, and that type of thing. And I thought maybe that may help the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We can't get some help. We just don't see where we're going to get revenue replacement.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the key, the revenue replacement. For the things we have to incur expenses on, like disinfecting the building and paying overtime, the response to community safety issues, we will more than likely apply for Homeland Security to get fund reimbursement. But these type programs you're talking about now will probably not be in any of those categories.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, 1 second. LBJ, I think are you just, LBJ, you wanted to talk, or are you messing with your screen?
I wanted to talk.
All right, go
but
ahead.
I'm not on the committee, so Ken can go before me, and then I can go after him.
Commissioner Epperson, you go ahead.
Okay, I just want to state that, of course, revenue replacement isn't on the table yet. However, NACO, as well as the Police Jury Association, are lobbying tooth and nail, day and night, on behalf of our congressional delegates out of Washington, D.C., that this be on the table. However, it is understood that basically if a package come up, we're going to be looking for our essential services that we must provide in the event that we lose revenue in that form. However, what we want to do is advocate on behalf of our congressional delegates, Cassidy, Kennedy, Johnson, Richmond, whomever is up there, that there will be another package forthcoming. And I think at some point in time, as it get a little closer, these things will be addressed, because you got to realize this is a political year, and they can talk smack if they want to that politics is not involved, but it is involved. So I would think that, and I will be supporting, all three of these measures. However, we can go to some other funding, and I think in the long run, we'll be able to remedy these situations in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, okay. I was just going to basically say, I think we kind of understand or fully understand the riverboat situation and the video poker situation. Mm-hmm. There are some funding that we set aside in 2019 for 2020 that probably won't happen due to the fact that it either has already passed or it has been impacted by the coronavirus already. Mm-hmm. So there will be some deletion of allocated money that won't be spent out, and then there will be some that we will have to spend out, and then there will be some that we will have to adjust because of the time factor that has already passed, that they wasn't able to do the program. So the NGO committee will be very active this year to try to keep everything in balance. But just to say that we just shut down and not do anything until we find out what's going to happen, I would think would be totally wrong. We'd have to do it with good moderation and making sure that we're just with it. We are dealing with fund balances that we do have, and we do know that people will be coming to us saying that they need money because everybody knows that the parish has money, and so they say, well, if we got money, then we ought to be able to do that. But looking at our budget, compared to the other governing bodies, our budget is much smaller than those two. Mm-hmm. So that's a major difference. We might have money, but it's not as much money as they have. Mm-hmm. And so, if it's something that's going to help stimulate the economy to try to get jobs created, we just did that with the Grace Project and also with Frymaster. Those are things that's going to help stimulate the economy. This program, I know at least the MS-KIC and the nursing program will be an automatic, quick impact. The aerospace one, you know, it's gonna still create some jobs because they have those jobs that are in demand. But you know, these are 3 opportunities that we have to get some people who are in school with student loans, making some money, and either getting them an apartment, getting a house, buying a trailer, buying vehicles. They're gonna be doing something. They're gonna be spending extra money because now they have more disposable income. So I think we have to look at it. I think initially Southern came in at $600,000 with all the, I think it was 5 or 6 programs. They've now weeded down to, I think it looks like it's now 250 with 3 programs. Mm-hmm. So I just think we just need to look at it and maybe look at it a little bit more to get a number that we can live with, but not just shut it down and say we're not going to do any funding.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may get back on the board, if there's no other person ahead of me.
Go ahead, Commissioner Epperson.
I'd like to make a motion that we submit all 3 proposals to the full body. And at that particular time, we'll have more time to hash out what funds that we may deem appropriate at that time. If I can get a second.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, can I clarify your motion, Commissioner Epperson? Are you stating the funding level, or are you just stating that we hold off on the funding level until?
No, I'm stating that we recommend the funding levels as requested of all 3 programs to the full body. And at that particular time, we can disseminate what funds we will approach to get those funds.
Okay.
And I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Epperson to forward this request from Southern as written to the full body, and then assess the situation further at that point and decide on a final level of funding at that point. Is that
sounds good?
All right, so that's Commissioner Epperson's recommendation, and Commissioner Gage Watts has seconded it. Let me just say that that I would not be supportive of that recommendation. I want to be supportive of Southern, but I'm not supportive of a $250,000 request when our whole projected budget was $450,000 before the coronavirus, and with video poker being offline for 6 weeks now, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 months. And oil, I don't know if you guys know, but oil and West Texas Intermediate Oil in the futures contract went negative. Fortunately, most of the parish's production is gas, but the oil and gas sector is not booming either. So I would encourage us to be more cautious. Again, I'm not opposed to some degree of funding here. I think that at least some of these projects I'm very supportive of. Others I'm less enthusiastic about. But let's just use some care here. Yes, Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make a comment. I'd like to see these voted on independently due to the fact that the governor shut down the schools for the rest of the duration of this year. So for the nursing school and the aviation school, we could possibly come back and look at those later. And I do like what the MS-KIC Kitchen is doing, and thank you guys for feeding that community. So I would like to see that one independently come forward so that we could vote on that to allocate some monies to allow them to feed that community in that area. However, as an accumulation of all 3 together, I'll be voting no. Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Chavez, if I could speak, is it appropriate?
Yes, go ahead. Again.
The public schools are shut down, but the higher education institutions, we are still operating online and probably at a higher cost than if we were to have been operating in a normal state. So we're not shut down. We're still conducting class online.
You guys are doing online maintenance training for the aviation?
Yes, sir. They're doing it through a virtual education. And in some instances with carefulness, they are doing some classroom instruction. That's the public schools.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, someone asked, is that you?
That's me, Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir.
You all completely usurped the procedure. I made the motion and got a second. I should have been afforded the opportunity to speak, and then everyone else from that point on. However, let's go with this motion. I have a wealth of information that I can give you on the nursing program. I have two nieces that are nurses. I have two sister-in-laws. I have a daughter-in-law and a sister-in-law that's in the medical field, got their education at Southern. I'm very familiar with the aircraft industry. Worked 10 years out at ExpressJet, and very familiar with the situation relative to the kitchen on Milam Street. Matter of fact, one of the persons that's down there, we honored her as a veteran. However, I'm looking at time also, and I can give you a lot more information. So I would ask that let's go ahead and vote in favor of this, and we still got time to look at it in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner Epperson, I did not mean to usurp the process. We're all on kind of unfamiliar ground here.
May I ask a question?
Yes, John Paul.
Thank you. So if this were forwarded to the whole body, and then the body voted on it, would we be able to, at that meeting, adjust the amounts that, if we thought that these amounts were not compatible with our budget, could we do?
May I answer that, Mr. Chairman?
I'll answer it, Mr. Epperson. Yes, okay. I believe that's true. Do you agree with that statement, Ken?
Pardon?
I said, in answering his question, I said, yes, I believe that's true, that we would be reevaluating the funding levels at that meeting. Do you concur with that statement?
Yes, sir, as well as gathering other information, which would be very important.
Now, a procedural question for Dr. Wilson or some of our other staff on the line.
Yes, sir.
When would this, if we forward this to the full body, what day would it come onto the agenda?
It's the next work session.
The next work session.
Okay. Next work session will be May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we will have a little time to at least see how this plays out. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go to a vote?
I have another question for Ms. Sneed.
I think Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts had a question.
Yes, I just wanted to say, as the second of that motion, that we need to go ahead and pass this forward to allow it to come to the full body. We all know that right now, nurses are known as America's heroes. They are our frontline workers. And if we could hire everyone to be a nurse right now, we still would not have enough nurses to care for people. So we should think about what we're saying no to at this time when we're making an investment in this educational process right here in Shreveport, Louisiana, in Caddo Parish. We have an opportunity to make an investment, not just in our future, but also in our health. So I would ask you to support this, to push this forward, and we can have further discussion once it becomes before the full body. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. John Paul Young.
Yes, I had a question for Ms. Sneed. You said, I think that you request an extra $25,000 for the grab and go meals that you're providing for free, which is wonderful, and I thank you for doing that. Do you know how many meals that will be?
I don't want to get my numbers wrong, John Paul, if you would allow me to follow up with an email on that to be exact, because we had a new dynamic to occur just yesterday when the food bank agreed to provide food to help us with the cost. So just let me work the numbers. I'd rather not give you an incorrect number.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other comments?
Just a final comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner
I'm just
Burrow.
going to reiterate again something I mentioned earlier, which was basically the only comment that I made on this subject, is about the nurses and the projections that are out there in terms of the number that's going to be needed. I agree with Commissioner Gage Watts because I've looked at the figures, and everybody and his brother is going to be going toward nursing if possible, because this virus is not going away. So it's not a hoax. It's not any of that. They're looking for a possible resurgence, even looking at other countries right now that are getting out too early. So I think we need to be a little bit more visionary in this, and that's my comment.
All right. Well, as a final comment, I will just say I respect these requests and the programs, although as a financial guy, it's hard for me to put 55% of the annual budget into one request. But that's just one guy's view. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mrs. Clerk, would you please call the roll for roll call vote?
Okay, do you want me to remind everyone what they're voting on?
That'd be nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. To recommend to the full body, all funding levels as requested for aerospace, nursing, and MSK.
Thank you very much. All right, roll call vote, please.
You're welcome. Atkins,
No.
Chavez,
No.
Epperson,
Yes.
Gage Watts,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Okay, that's 3-2. Thank you all very much. It will go to the body for reconsideration or for discussion for a vote scheduled for May 7th. Well, the work session will be May 7th, I believe the staff had said.
The work session's May the 4th.
Okay, thank you. And then the regular meeting is May 7th.
Yes.
All right. It's been a good meeting, guys and gals. I might propose, if it's okay with you guys, I might make a motion that we delay discussion of topic 4 to the next meeting. We're running tight on time, and I think we've all might want to.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. And I see Stormy Gage Watts agreeing, and so that's a majority. So we will adjourn for now, and I'll see y'all in about 10 minutes. Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Okay, bye.